Welcome to Homestead Sessions, the interview series. I'm Paulo, the host, and I'm here with very special guest, the first live poet at Homestead Sessions, Angelus. How are we doing today, Angelus?
I'm doing good. Thank you for inviting me to be here. This is really
Absolutely.
special to me.
No, it's special for all of us. So you're in the desert. What part of the desert are you live in again?
I live in the rural part.
Okay.
So out I'm right on the city line of Joshua Tree and 29.
Okay.
So if I'm out, if you know the firehouse, I'm out by the firehouse.
How about a firehouse?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. And how long you been out there?
I've been here since 2018.
Okay. Yeah, so we're about the same. I was the end of 2017 when I moved out. So yeah.
For a couple years, I lived out in town, and then in 29, and then in 2021, we moved out to where we're at now, which is
Gotcha.
like a rural part, which was always the goal when I moved out here, which was we wanted to have land, we
Yeah.
wanted the kids to have space,
Yeah.
and have chickens,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
things like that.
That's awesome. Um, cool. And what would you say was like I'm always interested to know why people move out here. So what would you say brought you out here and decided like I need to live here?
I think it was just this like internal pull that I know some people talk about it around here is that you visit here because I visited here once and I felt that internal pull that, well, it's like the most beautiful place I've ever seen, right? But we see beautiful places,
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
other places, but we don't feel called to like live there.
Yeah.
And I felt called to live here. I felt called to like put roots down here. And that was it. That was
So it
it.
was an instant.
It was an instant.
Wow.
It was just like, I think I remember the instant too. It was like driving up the mountain and seeing the trees in Yucca Valley. There's this part right when you're driving up where there's just like an immense amount of Joshua trees.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was the most amazing thing I had ever seen.
Wow. That's a trip.
Yeah.
And you hadn't visited.
Never. Never heard of it. Never visited. Nothing. And
That's a
it was
trip.
my daughter's first birthday. And we thought it would be like a good first birthday trip. Like we like to explore and take
Yeah,
her
yeah.
new places and things like that. And that was it. It was just like, oh, I felt at home.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, I felt like this feeling
Right.
like it was just I was home
Mm-hmm.
for the first time I'd ever felt that. So I equated that with, oh, I must have to live here.
Right. No, that's
Yeah.
strong. That's a strong, yeah. Did your daughter feel the same? Or did it take
You
some
know,
adjusting?
my older kids did.
Did they?
Yeah, they loved like that. Because I homeschooled them at that time, so
Okay.
they're very like hands-on and like they like being outside, and they loved it. They immediately started pulling like the iron out of the sand with magnets and
Oh,
things like
wow,
that,
okay.
And so we went hiking into the park.
Yeah.
So yeah, they really liked it.
Awesome. That's cool. That's cool. So you and me met through the poetry. I met you at an open mic. I don't know if you remember. It was
Yeah.
at Frontier Cafe a couple years ago, pre-Homestead Sessions. But yeah, we met at this open mic. I saw you, share some of your poetry. Um, what was the beginning of your journey as a poet?
Um, Well, that would be categorized as the beginning
Yeah.
because I think that was like the second open mic
Okay.
that I
That
did,
you
and
okay.
those were the very first poems that I wrote out here. But to take it back
I don't want to
to
be grateful in my last minutes on earth. I want to live every minute like this. When you wake at night, pray for those who still sleep. Contemplate on nothing for those who contemplate on everything. Breathe deeply.
and those were the very first poems that I wrote out here. But to take it back to before that would have been I remember being a little girl writing poetry.
Okay, so you was writing as a
Right.
Oh, okay.
And I'm the youngest of four.
Mm.
And so I remember writing and wanting to like get my brother back who's like teasing me and like writing rhymes and like rhyming and like
You're a battle rapper.
right and reading them back to myself. And there was this moment I'll never forget it because there was this moment that he was teasing me and my sister, and I just spit one of those rhymes at him.
Ooh.
And, me and my siblings, we just all started laughing. And I felt like queen of
Felt
the
some power.
world.
Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah,
felt
yeah.
that power for the first time in myself. And I was like, wow. And that was the first time I ever verbalized it.
Mm-hmm.
But the funny thing about that is that was the last time I ever did it.
Oh, really?
Even though, so what I've come to find out is that it wasn't really anybody squashing me. It wasn't really anybody saying, no, you can't do this, or no, don't write. It was me. I was afraid of my own power.
Okay. Yeah.
And when I look back at it, that's what I think happened. And I just really stopped writing, and I really never did it too much again. It wasn't really so much that instant, but I think that had a lot of weight on me.
Maybe that power kind of intimidated you.
And people sometimes think that it's these negative experiences.
Right.
But for women, what I've seen is that it can be positive experiences too when you're really young. Being afraid to be too much, being afraid to kind of take up that space, And I think that's kind of what I kind of learned from writing at a young age.
How old were you at that time?
Oh, I was probably 7.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 7, 8.
Yeah. I mean, that's very young to have that sort of force of a feeling. Like
Right.
I could see that even subconsciously just being like, whoa, I don't know if, what if you can't control it? It's like a superpower almost.
And
so.
I was as a kid, I was deathly shy.
Right. Yeah.
So at home,
yeah.
I was kind of wilding out a little bit,
Sure.
but I mean,
Socially,
outside of it,
yeah.
I wouldn't, raise my hand in class. I wouldn't talk. I wouldn't do things. I was so afraid of being seen.
I get you. Yeah. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Did your brother fire back, or was that?
Oh no, he got totally rocked in that one moment. Yeah, it was it was a really good rhyme, and it was about his wife. And,
Oh damn! Okay.
Yeah, and I was little
You got
writing
personal.
it. I got personal with it. It was
You're I'm gonna go one blow. This
Yeah, I
guy
was
never talking about.
Yeah, I go big or go home.
Yeah,
so I was
squashing. That's hilarious. What can you share about your process? Are you the type that writes all the time, or do you set aside a ritual, or is it a combination?
I'm the type that really does not write.
Yeah.
I don't think so. The poems that in the past couple of years that I just started writing came from just sitting down at my computer, and all of a sudden just the entire poem comes out.
Okay, yeah.
Right. And so it was almost like I was really nervous to be seen, at that time.
Sure.
So I started to see literary, that's why the community feels so important to me, because I started to see literary events going on, Jennifer Lewis or Red Light Lit.
Yeah.
I saw her events, and I had emailed her about, how do you, pick the readers and stuff like that. I was just wanting to get information.
Yeah.
And I remember telling myself, if you were to be on that stage, what would you write?
There you go.
And I sat down and I wrote my first poem.
Okay.
And it was called My First Time. And it was all about speaking for the first time in my life. And I wrote that poem. I was like, wow, this is pretty good. It really brought how I felt to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I just started doing it again. I sat down and I was really bringing hard emotions that I was feeling inside to the surface. So I'd be in tears.
Okay.
And a whole poem come out.
Wow.
And that's it. And so it really was just taking the moment, the time to think about how I felt.
I flow to the east, fly to the west, move to the south, and stay in the north. And the love I have created under the shadow of the hammer is just a drop of what I will create in the light of myself.
And how would I put that to words?
Yeah.
And just giving myself this small moment in time. So from that time to now, my process now kind of looks like letting myself feel when I feel called to write. So taking out my phone and just jotting down notes of things that are just One of my writing teachers that I'm taking a creative writing class now, she said, like, do something called small noticings, where you just write down these small things that you notice,
Okay.
you know?
That's cool. Yeah.
And so I like that idea.
Yeah.
I really like writing in the morning.
Yeah.
I feel like I've come back from another place every night.
Like right when you get up, or how?
Like right when I get up, I won't even get out of bed.
That's like a known thing. I learned that years ago too, just from one of like a fellow MC songwriter. He told me that's the best time because that's when the subconscious is just you're like almost dream state. And you don't think, you're just letting it flow.
Yeah, and it's before the day gets you, right?
Exactly.
Before your judgments, before your everything gets you,
Step
and
out
so
into the world,
I have this relationship with the morning where I feel like the morning is, and it's also I feel like we come when we're sleeping, and when we wake up right in the morning, it's like the time to really like ground yourself.
For sure.
You know, for me, that's how I feel every morning. I wake up, I'm like, oh shit, I'm back here. Like, oh shit, I have to be back here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm here. I'm a human in this experience.
Yeah.
So it's about grounding myself in the morning, and a lot of time that brings up, I want to like just write, you know, and stuff like that. So, for me, the biggest thing is if you give yourself silence.
Yeah.
The writing writes itself.
Right. I mean, it's a meditation, so it's very much in alignment.
Right.
That's every morning you do this?
Oh no.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Just
When
when I feel called, I'm kind of like I even went back to school for right now. I'm in school getting my English degree, and I did that to force myself to write more.
That's awesome.
To structure myself to write more.
Give you structure.
You know, to say, okay, if you won't do it for yourself, do it for something else.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not opposed to saying I don't have it in me to write every day.
Yeah.
But I know that if I have assignments and people prompting me to do stuff, I know I will do it.
It's just that little push or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so as far as the poetry, spoken word versus written word, is there like something you feel more strongly about, or when you write, are you thinking like, are you hearing it as a spoken piece too, or like how does that work?
Yeah. I think my preference is spoken word.
Okay.
Because even when a reader is reading it.
Yeah, there's the voice.
They're reading it, right. And they're reading it out loud, or they're reading it, or somebody could be reading it to them. Like, I feel like spoken word is always in my mind. And it's written differently when it's spoken. Yeah. So I think that when we do spoken word, there's not a lot of fluff. You can't really add a lot of fluff in there. Right. It's almost more raw. Like, you got to get straight to it, what you're saying. Right. And those words have to match the emotion in what you're saying. And so when I'm writing, I'm definitely reading it out loud to myself. Okay. And I can hear what it wants to do as a spoken word poem. Yeah. So there's definitely a really hard difference between a poem that is for spoken word to be performed and a poem that is not, right? That it can be for paper, right? And I think all poems can be performed. Yeah. But when you have the intention to write it beforehand as a spoken word piece, your brain starts working a little bit differently in what you're saying, the words you're using, alliteration, sounds, and things that you're hearing and stuff like that.
And there's a rhythm to it, the tone.
The rhythm, the tone. Yeah. You know, things that you're going to say gently, things that you're going to say more harshly. All of that is being taken into consideration, I think, when you're writing it as a spoken word piece. I didn't think about spoken word when I first started writing poetry. Okay. I didn't even know I was a spoken word poet. Yeah. You know, it was like I just wrote the poem. But when I read it out loud to myself, I could feel the fire in my voice. Yeah. And so when I went out to my first open mic, I was filled with anxiety, fear to even say it. Right. But when I get on the mic, I'm pushing through. I'm saying it anyways. That's it. And I can feel that fire just wanting to come out, what I'm wanting to say. And I had somebody ask me recently, like, how are you so confident when you speak poetry? Like, how are you?
Yeah.
And I said, I believe every word I say.
There you go. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, that's a fact. You
Right.
got to. I mean,
Right.
you know,
It's like a prayer. It's like
it really is.
you believe every word you are saying.
It's coming from you.
It's coming from this guttural place.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome. So with that, do you have any like because the spoken word movement has always been like very fascinating to me. You know, coming from a hip hop background, to me that was like the evolution of emceeing. I remember Saul Williams basically. He said it in a way it was like it's because he came from emceeing too. He said it basically took the kind of the margins away, not verbatim, but something. It took like the trap of being in 16 bars. It took all that away and just allowed for this open, wide canvas. I could just use the word however I feel.
Right.
And he exemplified that with his work. And so I bring that up to just say, like, was there certain spoken word poets that influenced you or inspired you to where you're like, that's like, you know, that's me. That's, you know, that you identified with or?
You know, no.
No?
I didn't even, you know, somebody asked me this too, like who do I like kind of read or look up to and things like that. And I started to listen to a little bit of spoken word after
you were
I became a spoken word person. But I'm one of those people that I don't immerse myself in a lot of other people stuff.
Gotcha.
And I think I realized that early on is so that I could let who I am just come through really organically.
There you go.
And that's kind of what happened with going to the open mics and seeing and hearing myself for the first time. And people were like, oh, you have like a really interesting cadence, or you have like a really strong, like, performative, you know, part to your artistry. And that's all new to me. That's all this is all stuff.
Right.
You're telling me something actually I don't know. You know what I mean about myself. I'm just trying to read.
Yeah.
You know, the piece. I'm just trying to read something I wrote, something that was on my heart. I'm just reading it, you know, how I'm reading it. But I can see that in other spoken word poets that I've listened to and I've seen, nobody by name, but there's just this power where you believe what you're saying. It's like a fist is present on that stage and behind that mic.
Yeah.
It's how we do the fighting, you know?
That's it.
You fight with the pen.
Fight with the pen.
Yeah. And you see that and you feel that when people are reading their pieces. So for me, I'm just one of those people where I'm starting to now like read a lot of literary classics and greats and things like that. And I'm just in awe and I love them. But I don't think that I kind of look to them as to what I should do.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Only because I think I come from a place where I have to be able to tell myself. That's what empowers me.
Yeah. It's got to come from you.
It's got to come from me.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So I know you already said like you don't, for lack of a better word, consume much outside of you. You just for poetry you go from the heart and from yourself, right? But do you have any writers, poets, like a few, like what would your top 3, anything like that?
You know, I pretty much love every word she says. Mary Oliver.
Okay. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I've read a lot of her, and you know, nowadays we're in the age where you don't need to read a book. You just have a whole Instagram page dedicated to the poet.
Yeah, quotes.
And it's like a daily dose of these poets, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I really, but I like a lot of the women poets that are kind of a little bit, you know, they've had a little bit of darker kind of lives, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tortured kind of poets would be like up my alley, like Sylvia Plath, Emily Dickinson, things like that, Maya Angelou, and there's other writings that I've read that I really loved in the past 2 years. Bell Hooks.
Okay, I know the name, but I don't know her work.
all of those things, I've just dabbled into Carl Jung, and things like that. So I kind of feel like I like my consumption really creative. Like the Carl Jung, people like, you never read? No, never. Until I was like, you know what? It's a thing. I feel like it's time. I want to learn. And I found a podcast called Creative Codex.
Okay.
And that really was my introduction to things. And he just had one right now with William Blake.
Okay.
And so things like that I like my consumption like really creative. I like it with new insights.
Sure.
I like it with good perspectives, balanced perspectives and things like that. And I feel it's really like valuable to me when I'm able to consume people, not just by their writings, but maybe like with people who've had what's their experience with those writings.
Oh.
And the marriage of those two things. Gotcha. And kind of seeing it from a all angles kind of thing too. What you like about it, what you don't like about it, to me is also equally, advantageous to me to hear it.
Right, that makes sense. But you don't have a top three, would you say?
Oh, no, I don't. I don't think I have like a top three. I'm the type of person who's like, "What's your favorite music?"
You don't have
musician. I'm like, I could never. I'll take that to the grave. Like it's not even something I could formulate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just like. I will say this. I like when people speak the truth.
Yeah, I mean that's it.
And I feel like the truth is a language in its own.
That's forever.
Right. There's my view, there's your view, and then there's this bird's eye view. Mm-hmm. Give me that bird's eye view.
Yeah.
Tell me what you see in me. Tell me what you see in them. Tell me what you see in us. Tell me what these different angles.
Right.
And I think when I read writers and poets, that it is just this truth that they are speaking. Mm-hmm. And it can be dark or it can be light or whatever, but it's the truth and we all know it.
That's right. That's right. What do you think, in your perspective, is the poet's responsibility?
I feel, I wrote this poem and it's called A Poet's Place.
Okay.
And I don't have it memorized, but it's very small. It says, a poet's place is neither here nor there. No fixed way to see. No geography and things like that. And where the poet lands is not here or there and all of these things. And it's kind of how I envision a poet in this world is not fixed anywhere. Mm-hmm. Able to kind of traverse all of it. So for me, my place is in like a circle where I'm trying to view a single point, but I have to traverse the circle to see that single point in the middle.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I have to be able to move in different directions, and I feel like that's what a poet does. A poet is able to see things in all lights, mm-hmm. from all angles, and put that in a way that readers can digest it. Because there's a lot of things in the world we can't look at. We don't want to look at. And there's feelings inside of ourselves we refuse to look at. And that's what I think the poet's job is to make that digestible for people in a way that feels good, mm-hmm. in a way that evokes emotion, connection, resonance with them.
Yeah. Okay, so you played, like I said, you're the first poet to speak at Homestead Sessions. So from your point of view and your words, what would you say if somebody were to ask you, what's Homestead Sessions about? Or, what went down when you did your thing there?
I would say that it's like, it's a place where you're able to see yourself, whether that's through your own art or who's playing with you that night too. you know, because I feel like there's a lot of connection happening between who's on the bill with you that night.
True.
And for me, it was a place, it's a place of expansion, whether you're looking for it to be or not. I think it will, it can be, if that's your intention.
Right.
When you asked me to do a set, I never done a set before. And I remember thinking, do I want to sit or stand?
Right. Yeah.
And it was the first time I had ever thought that to myself. I'd only been to a few open mics where you're standing,
Yeah.
but that's what the Homestead Sessions,
Yeah.
it was like the first peek into who are you, like as an artist, what do you like?
Right.
And I remember thinking, well, I am more comfortable sitting, I'll bring a stool.
Yeah.
And it's like a small thing for somebody to be like that. But for me, it was a big thing to be able to ask myself those questions. How did I want to be perceived?
Yeah.
Where am I comfortable at?
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I think Homestead Sessions can offer artists, whether they're new in the game or they've been around. And it's a place really where you connect with community, because I got so much feedback that night. Like, it was like everybody had something to say.
Yeah.
And every person had something valuable to add to it. I heard so many different takes and perspectives and experiences and things like that. And that just opens me up.
That's right.
You know, as an artist. It's like a place to bloom, you know, and I felt safe enough to do that here. I don't always feel that, you know, everywhere. So that's what it was for me. It was a place of expansion and connection and a lot of warmth, you know.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, my friend Angelus, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here, sharing your story, sharing your perspective. It's very, very strong, very valuable. I appreciate you out here.
Thank you.
You're definitely coming to the next one. You're going to do your thing again.
Yeah.
I see the 2025 Angelus.
And it might be a completely different
That's right.
poet,
That's
a completely
right.
different
Yeah, that's what it's about.
writer, but you know what? That's what it's about. That's the place to
That's
test
right.
those things.
We're going to test them out. That's right. Thank you again.
Thank
for
you.
being here.